You know, there's this hidden force that kind of shapes our world, from how we see ourselves to how whole societies are built. It's called value capture. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what it is and why it matters so much.
So let me just start by asking you something. Have you ever felt like a label, your job title, a personality type, maybe even your political party, just doesn't quite get the full picture of who you are?
I'm guessing you have. We all have. And it's not weird. It's a deeply human thing to do. We are constantly trying to make sense of this incredibly complex world by, well, simplifying it, by sorting everything and everyone into these neat, understandable little boxes. So in this first part, let's just dig into why we do this. Why do we have this powerful urge to label and categorize everything? Turns out, it's a pretty fundamental part of how we think.
But here's the thing. There's always a cost to this simplification, right? Every single time we slap a label on something, we're making a choice about what to focus on. And that choice, well, it automatically means we're also choosing what to ignore. This is the real tension we're going to be looking at today.
The researcher Manveer Singh really nails it here. He says that naming something is this incredibly powerful act. It's our first step toward getting a handle on reality. The moment we label something, we feel like we understand it, like we've got some control. But is that understanding real, or is it kind of just an illusion?
Okay, so this whole process of simplifying, of choosing what to see and what to ignore, it actually has a name. This is the core idea for us today, and it's called value capture.
C. Stephen Byram defines value capture as exactly that, a narrowing of information. Basically, it's when we take something super complex, like a person or a tricky situation, and we boil it down to a single, simple metric or label. And in doing that, we push all the messy, nuanced, interesting stuff off to the side.
And this right here is the fundamental trade-off. Value capture always shines a spotlight on one thing, a single number, a simple label, how much something is worth in dollars. But when it does that, it silences almost everything else, all the subtlety, the full, complicated reality, the rest of what makes a person a person.
So, okay, let's make this real. How much do these labels actually tell us? Let's take one of the most popular forms of labeling out there, personality tests. I mean, how much of you can they really capture?
Now take a look at this number, 0.04. It doesn't look like much, does it? But believe me, it tells a massive story about just how limited our labels can be.
So that number, that 0.04, it represents something in statistics called an R-squared value. One study found that a very popular personality profile could only predict 4% of a person's own self-awareness. Just let that sink in for a second. 96% of who that person is, their quirks, their inner world, their ability to grow and change, was completely missed by the label. It's a perfect data-driven example of value capture in action.
Now, this problem of trying to capture the full truth of a person, it's not just for psychologists. It's a huge challenge for artists, too. And to see what I mean, let's jump over to the world of literature.
The literary theorist Mikhail Bakhtin talked about two kinds of novels. The monologic novel, on one hand, is basically artistic value capture. There's one single truth, the author's, and the characters, they're just objects there to serve the author's point. But Bakhtin, he championed the polyphonic novel. That's where characters are independent subjects with their own voices and their own truths, creating what he called a great dialogue, where no single voice gets to win.
Bakhtin, Fyodor Dostoevsky, was the absolute master of this. Just like he says here, Dostoevsky's characters aren't just puppets for the author's ideas. No way. They have their own voices, their own truths. They argue, they contradict themselves, they feel real. Dostoevsky fought the urge to capture them with a single label, and he let their full, messy, complex humanity shine through.
Okay, so what happens when an entire society decides to do this, to engage in value capture on a massive scale? Well, let's look at this fascinating kind of wild thought experiment from a novel called Underground Man by Gabriel Tard.
The setup is pretty intense. The sun is fading out, the Earth's surface is becoming this uninhabitable, chaotic mess. So humanity has a choice. Stick it out and perish in all that messy, unpredictable chaos, or engineer a brand new beginning by retreating deep, deep underground.
And as Tardet writes, you can see the appeal. I mean, it's undeniable. This underground world offers a total escape from chaos. You get this perfectly controlled, comfortable, Elysian existence. It's a promise of order, safety, and total stability.
And so, they make their choice. They perform the ultimate act of societal value capture.
They literally decide which values are worth preserving, the greatest hits of art and science, and they just discard the rest. They leave behind the messiness of nature, the struggle, all the inconvenient parts of being alive, all for a curated, simplified, and captured reality.
Now, this isn't just about personality tests or old novels, of course. This tension, this battle between the full, complex reality and the simple, captured label, it's happening all around us and inside us every single day.
You really start to see value capture everywhere once you look for it. It's in that one data point used to define a person's worth. It's the clickbait headline that flattens a complex global crisis. It's in rigid beliefs that create a simplistic us versus them. It's even in that snap judgment we make when we meet someone new, instantly trying to fit them into a box we already know.
Look, it's an easy trap to fall into. Simplicity feels safe, it feels like control, but the cost is huge. We lose truth, we lose real understanding. So the big question is, how do we fight back? How do we actually resist our own biases?
The philosopher Hans-Georg Gadamer actually offered a pretty simple two-step path. First, just be aware of your own biases, the assumptions and the baggage you bring to every situation. Acknowledge that it's there. And second, and this is the really crucial part, remain truly open to the other person or the new idea. It's not about ditching your own view, but just being willing to let it be challenged and maybe even enriched by another.
And that really brings us full circle. Resisting value capture starts by asking ourselves this one simple but really powerful question. The boxes we build for ourselves and for other people, they're comfortable, sure, they feel safe. But the full, messy, beautiful truth of the world, it's almost always waiting just outside. Thanks for exploring all this with me.